In Northwood County, every kid grows up hearing the same warning. Whatever you do, never, ever enter Hollow Pines after sunset. It's a rule that's been passed down for generations, whispered around campfires and used by parents to scare their children into coming home on time. They say a creature roams the forest once the light fades, a thing they call the backward boy. The stories describe him as a child-sized figure, but all wrong. His joints bend the wrong way, his arms and legs twisting at impossible angles. His feet point behind him, so his footprints always lead in the opposite direction of where he's going. 16-year-old Jordan always rolled his eyes at the stories. A dumb village legend, he'd call it. Just a spooky tale to keep kids out of the woods. He'd spent his whole life in Northwood County and had never seen anything remotely strange in Hollow Pines. So when his younger cousins, Maya and Leo, came to visit for the summer, he didn't think twice about taking them on a hike through the infamous woods. He wanted to show them the old abandoned mill deep in the forest, a local hangout spot for teenagers. He promised his aunt they'd be back long before dinner. The afternoon was bright and clear. Sunlight streamed through the thick canopy of leaves, dappling the forest floor. The trail was familiar to Jordan, and he led the way with confidence, his cousins trailing behind, their excited chatter filling the air. They explored the moss-covered ruins of the mill, daring each other to peek into the dark, crumbling doorways. Time slipped away faster than they realized. One minute they were laughing and taking pictures, and the next, Jordan noticed the golden light of the afternoon had begun to fade into a deep orange. The sun was setting. A shiver, not entirely from the evening chill, ran down Jordan's spine. "Okay guys, we should head back," he said, trying to keep his voice casual. But as they turned to leave, Jordan felt a pang of uncertainty. The path they had taken seemed to have vanished. All around them, the trees looked identical, their long shadows stretching and merging into one another. A thick fog began to roll in, clinging to the ground like a shroud, muffling their voices and swallowing the last of the daylight they were lost. Panic began to set in. Maya's bravado had evaporated, and she clutched Leo's hand tightly. "Jordan, I'm scared," she whispered, her voice trembling. "It's okay," Jordan said, though his own heart was hammering against his ribs. "We just got a little turned around. We'll find the path." But every direction he tried looked the same and endless. Disorienting maze of dark trees. The forest, once so familiar, now felt alien and hostile. That's when they heard it. Footsteps. A soft, rhythmic crunching of leaves and twigs. Jordan froze, motioning for his cousins to be quiet. He strained his ears, trying to pinpoint the direction. The sound was strange, unsettling. It sounded like someone was walking steadily toward them, getting closer with each step. But at the same time, the source of the sound seemed to be moving away. It was a bizarre, stomach-churning contradiction. The approaching footsteps were receding. Jordan's mind raced, trying to make sense of the auditory illusion. It had to be an echo, he told himself, the sound bouncing off the dense trees and thick fog. But the feeling of being watched was undeniable. The hair on his arm stood on end. He grabbed his cousin's hands. "Come on, this way," he whispered, pulling them in the opposite direction of the sound. They stumbled through the undergrowth, branches snagging at their clothes, their own panicked footsteps sounding deafening in the silence. But the other footsteps continued, keeping a steady, unnerving pace with them. No matter how fast they ran, the sound remained a phantom presence, just out of sight, always approaching, yet always moving away. It was like they were being stalked by an echo. Tears were streaming down Maya's face now, and Leah was whimpering softly. Jordan felt a suffocating sense of dread. The old legend of the backward boy, the one he'd always dismissed, was screaming in his mind. After what felt like an eternity, they broke through the trees and stumbled into a small, circular clearing. In the center, bathed in the pale, ghostly light of the rising moon, stood a figure. It was a boy, about their age, his back turned to them. A wave of relief washed over Jordan for a split second, thinking they had found another person. "Hey," he called out, his voice hoarse. "Hey, can you help us? We're lost." The figure didn't move. Jordan took a cautious step forward, his cousins hiding behind him. "Hello," He tried again, slowly, agonizingly. The boy's head began to turn, but it didn't turn the way a normal head does. It twisted around and around and around, a full 180 degrees, the sound of cracking bone echoing in the silent clearing. His body remained perfectly still, facing away from them, but his head was now facing them directly. His face was pale and gaunt in the moonlight, but it was his eyes that held them. They were ancient and empty, devoid of any light or life. And then his mouth began to stretch. It widened unnaturally, pulling the corners of his lips up toward his ears into a grotesque, impossible smile. A voice, dry and raspy like dead leaves skittering across pavement, slithered from his throat. "If you walk forward, I'll follow." His smile widened. "If you turn back, I'll lead." A primal scream tore from Maya's throat. Jordan didn't need to be told twice. Espunaroned, grabbing his cousins, and plunged back into the trees, away from the clearing. Hawaii. From that thing. But as he ran, the forest itself seemed to warp and twist around them. The path he thought he saw ahead would suddenly bend back on itself, leading them in a circle. Trees, thick and ancient, began to contort, their branches bending backward at sharp, unnatural angles, mimicking the creature's limbs. The very geometry of the woods was breaking down. Every direction Jordan looked, he saw him, the backward boy. He'd be standing at the end of a path, his back to them, only to slowly twist his head around and offer that same horrifying smile. Then he would vanish, only to reappear moments later. Closer this time, he was in front of them, behind them, to their sides. He was everywhere at once. The forest was his playground, and they were his toys. They ran until their lungs burned and their legs gave out, collapsing in a heap at the edge of the woods, the familiar lights of a neighborhood street glowing just a few hundred yards away. They had made it they were out. They didn't look back, sobbing and gasping for air. They sprinted toward the safety of the streetlights, not stopping until they burst through the front door of Jordan's house. They never told anyone the full story of what happened that night. Who would believe them? They just said they got lost and scared. But Jordan knew Hollow Pines does not let everyone leave, and for those who do escape, the terror isn the always so bear. Sometimes, late at night, when the house is dark and silent, Jordan will wake up to a strange sound, a soft, rhythmic creak on the staircase. It sounds like someone is coming up the stairs, but the sound is moving down. He'll lie there, frozen in his bed, sweat beading on his forehead, listening to the slow, deliberate footsteps, walking backward, up east stairs. The backward boy sometimes follows you home, and he's just waiting at the top of the stairs, with his head twisted around, smiling in the dark. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss another journey into the dark. See you next time.